Homer Simpson called killing your boss the American dream.
Oh my God! Someone's trying to kill me!
Well, maybe that's a little excessive, but as humans, we have deep and complex hormonal and emotional reactions to hierarchy. And a lot of the time a tyrannical boss drives us to thoughts of revenge. Because, let's face it, we hate being told what to do by someone who earns more than you and probably does far less work. So from the guy who used the simplest method of revenge of all, to the Bulgarian tractor driver who knew just what to do, here's the 15 workers who got revenge on their boss. Number 15. Disgruntled employee smashes employer's Mercedes. According to reports, this Swiss boss at a construction site had not paid his Albanian excavator driver. And during a television interview, it seems the driver decided it was the perfect moment to take revenge. Driving a large wheel loader Caterpillar, at first it seems as though he hasn't noticed the white Mercedes-Benz CLK parked in the middle of the worksite. These large loaders are seriously impressive machines, weighing in at a massive 110 tons or more. They have immense wheels and awesome loading and lifting power, and will cost you somewhere in the region of $2,500,000, no big deal. The Mercedes-Benz CLK is a classic coupe, produced from 1997 to 2010, running a powerful V8 engine. They were even used as the F1 safety car back in the 1990s. However, as great a car as the Mercedes might be, it doesn't stand much of a chance when being run over by the enormous Caterpillar. When the bucket is brought down and the huge wheels drive right over the car, it's really game over for the boss's pride and joy. But hey, credit to Mercedes, even after all that, the turn signal seems to still be working. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or Slenderman will come from under your bed when you're sleeping. Number 14. Bulgarian workers' revenge on construction boss. In this crazy scene from Bulgaria, a huge tipper truck is using its gigantic hydraulic shovel to move rubble around. These excavators are extremely strong pieces of equipment, and that shovel attachment can move rubble, dig huge holes, and even be used to destroy things like old buildings, which needs to be demolished. It seems this digger driver has done something to annoy his boss, as the boss drives up at speed in his white car, before jumping out angrily, beginning to shout at both the digger and the driver. It must have been the last straw for the employee, as all of a sudden, the shovel turns around, and instead of grabbing a ton of dirt and rocks, it comes crashing down onto the roof of the boss's car, completely destroying it. Well, I don't speak much Bulgarian, but the boss must have said something pretty insulting to merit that kind of reaction. The excavator then lifts the car and dumps it into the bed of the truck, before the boss, after running to safety, comes back still raging, throwing rocks at the huge machine. But that's not going to do much damage to this massive truck, which is more than can be said for his totaled car. Number 13. Employee gets revenge on boss. As humans, we usually have pretty good awareness, even of things we can't necessarily see. But one blind spot is things that happen overhead. And so dropping things from above is one of the classic pranks in history. In this video, we see what looks like a regular light industrial unit, with a couple of men wandering in and out of the main door, going about their business on their working day. Then we see something a little unusual. As still as a predator watching his prey, a heavy-set man is crouching on top of the building, holding a bucket. One of the other guys has caught sight of him, and is half hidden behind a wall, waiting for something to happen. And obviously, the person filming must be in on the prank too, so there's a real trap being laid here. Question is, what is in the bucket? After a tense wait, finally some drama. A man appears at the door, but at the last moment, a van pulls up to stop him walking out too fast. Perhaps coordinated, maybe just pure chance. But anyway, it's the signal to strike, and the patient man on the roof tips the bucket onto his boss, soaking him to the skin with water. It seems like he saw the funny side. The other guys watching certainly did. Number 12. Airport worker destroys jet after being fired. Seems like the digger is the weapon of choice for the angry worker hoping to overthrow his boss, which maybe ought to make the owners of construction companies think twice about handing over the keys of one to someone they're going to mistreat in some way. These huge things can wreak havoc on just about anything in sight, so better to be nice to the guy who is driving. In this video, we see the power of an excavator being put to use against a small airliner. Was this an employee gone berserk? Or maybe he was just, doing his job and smashing the plane up for a little recycling? The Russians making the video certainly seem to see the funny side. The airplane in question is called the Yak-40. Made by Yakolov, and was the world's first commuter trijet, meaning it has 3 jet engines. Quite an innovation on its maiden flight back in 1966. Production stopped in 1981, and one of these would have set you back more than $1 million in those days. So maybe someone is losing out big time when this excavator bucket crashes into the fuselage. Question is, what had this boss done to deserve it? Number 11. Marriott hotel reservation system hacked. Juan Rodriguez was fired by the international hotel conglomerate Marriott and decided that he wanted to exact his revenge on his employers for his dismissal. It's not clear entirely what Rodriguez was fired for, but it seems fair to say he did not agree with the decision at all. He devised a hacking plan and went on a Robin Hood-style attack against the computer systems of the hotel, and he was able to access the network and begin altering the prices of rooms. A room which normally cost $499 per night. This is New York City, where a basic chain hotel like the Marriott can charge $500 a night for a room, after all, was knocked down by Rodriguez to just $59 a night, and other rooms were going for around $12. Plenty of people jumped at the chance to grab these cheap rooms, and the whole escapade resulted in $50,000 of lost profits for Marriott. Rodriguez wasn't quite as skillful as Robin Hood in covering his tracks, however, and after launching another attack from his undisguised IP address, NYPD had little trouble figuring out who was to blame, and he found himself quickly arrested. Number 10. Fired worker paying big time for revenge plot against former boss. An auto shop worker in Arizona thought he'd figured out a master plan of revenge after being fired from his job. Nicholas Thomas, 33, went back to his former employer at the Midas Auto Shop to pick up his tools. When he arrived, boss Michael Duda even asked Thomas whether he was planning anything, and Thomas denied he was. However, taking the opportunity on the way out, Thomas slyly ran his keys along the paintwork of Duda's 2008 Corvette Z06. Once the damage had been assessed, Duda learned he faced a $4,000 bill for the respray job. But he had already consulted his security cameras, one of which was trained on his valuable sports car. It clearly showed Thomas committing the crime, and police arrested him on vandalism charges. And now Thomas faces footing the entire bill for the car respray himself. A serious case of revenge gone wrong. Number 9. Angry employee gets revenge on boss and totals his automobile. In a scene reminiscent of the classic John Carpenter horror movie Christine, 2 enormous steaming industrial tractors plow into and then rip apart a car, which supposedly belongs to their boss, who had not been paying their wages. Unlike in Christine, this maroon sedan was probably not possessed by some evil, murderous spirit, but it seems its owner may have been kind of a devil. And in this instance, he got his comeuppance. The power of these 2 machines and the anger of the guys driving them means that the boss's car stood no chance of survival, and ended up a crumpled heap of metal. It's said, though, that the unhappy bosses made sure these employees were prosecuted and ended up with prison sentences of 14 months for felony vandalism, as well as being sued for $60,000. Maybe not quite the result they would have hoped for at the moment they decided to go wrecking. But hey, it probably felt great at the time at least. I guess maybe next time don't film it and just say, "It was like that when I got here," if anyone asks what happened. Number 8. This is how an employee gets revenge after being fired. These guys show how to really get to work, destroying your former office after you've been fired. In a step-by-step walkthrough too. Almost like a video game, they give this office some serious destruction. First up, hoodie and face covering will help you avoid being recognized and ending up like some of our other vengeful employees who end up being caught. Then you need a decent baseball bat and you're ready to go. It's all about being efficient. So smash those plexiglass light coverings first. Make sure you get them all for maximum points. Next up, take out the boss's can of Pepsi. That's an important one. And be sure to hit it out of the park. Any other glass will do, but don't forget to bash up the wooden shelving unit. It won't do any damage, but it probably feels good. Telephones and coffee mugs should be treated like mortal enemies. Now it's time to switch over to a conveniently placed sledgehammer, and finally you can turn that desk to ruins. Sledgehammers are heavy though, so you may get tired quickly if you waste swings. If so, just resort to pushing things over with your hands, and your job is done. Number 7. Office employees prank the boss with empty parking. This time there's no sledgehammers or massive excavators involved, but an entire workforce collaborating to prank their boss. The boss, named Russ, presumably usually shows up to work later than his employees, and so altogether they decided to park their cars behind the building rather than in the regular parking lot. Then, waiting with anticipation, they all sneak a look out of the window, waiting until Russ arrives. When they see his car appear in the distance, they know Russ is going to be freaked out by the deserted parking lot. What is going on? Is it a public holiday and I forgot about it? Did I give everyone the day off? Accidentally go to work on a Saturday? Alien abduction? He parks up as the staff watches from the inside, and the boss takes a look around before a smile appears on his face. He knows something's up. Once inside, the truth is revealed.
Scratch rating, right? They go, all right.
And lucky for them all, it seems the boss knows how to take a joke and is able to see the funny side. But would you be brave enough to try this? Number 6. Employee gets fired and flips out. In this video, the boss drags this woman into his office and really rips into her about her underperforming sales. He starts giving her a real dressing down about not even performing as well as people who've been on the team less than 2 months, asking her if she has any more excuses like she did last month. The woman tries to explain she's doing her best and that her customers are more difficult and less willing to spend money than some of the other ones.
We're not getting any new customers. All the customers I have are just not willing to spend money. The economy's not.
But the boss doesn't want to hear about it. Then another employee calls the boss away on something urgent, and the boss has to leave, not before telling the woman that she's pretty much about to be fired. With the boss out of the way, the woman goes crazy and lets all her anger out. First on the pot of pencils, which get thrown across the room, and then on his laptop, which she smashes to pieces and then throws on the floor, jumping up and down on it, much to the shock of her colleagues who are passing by. The boss comes back in to find her sat coolly in the chair like nothing happened and asks what's going on. And the woman says, "Computer virus? Nice try." Number 5. Angry mine worker shows who's the boss. In this clip, an argument seems to have broken out between a man in a gray t-shirt and several people around him. They seem to be working in a construction site, and a silvery car backs up to allow a large Chevy truck to drive past, which it does quickly, to the man's annoyance. The man then focuses his attention on a white car, which is parked nearby, and trying to reverse. The man throws himself onto the back of the car in an attempt to stop it from getting away. But the car keeps reversing, and the man has to give up to avoid being injured by the car. Some other men intervene and seem to reprimand the man, including the driver of the silver car parked to the side. The gray t-shirt guy does not like this, and so he leaps into his evacuator and quickly fires up the engine, which he then turns around and drives right up to the gray car, putting the bucket underneath and flipping it over onto its back. What a move! The owner of the gray car runs for it, and the man makes his escape in the evacuator. Number 4. Disgruntled employee torches boss's Hummer SUV in Russia. Back in Russia again, which seems to be a country where taking revenge on your boss is some kind of national pastime, in this case, the worker, perhaps remembering the way things were back in the Soviet days, decides to take revenge on his boss by torching his flamboyant and expensive Humvee SUV. We see him dousing the vehicle with gasoline from 2 separate cans, and then a dramatic fireball overwhelms the vehicle as the man ignites it. A passerby takes one look and decides to run for it. It appears the arsonist also has made a hasty exit, and pretty soon the Hummer is enveloped in thick black smoke. Someone rushes in with a fire extinguisher, but that's not enough to stop this fireball. Then the same guy tries to use the building's fire hose, but this has barely a dribble of water pressure. Finally, firefighters arrive, only to discover that they have a leaky hose. A comic scenario, but it makes no difference when they finally get some water going. The Humvee is dead, and the revenge is sweet for the angry worker. Number 3. Revenge on fat boss. It's a classic trick. Unscrew a few screws on something, leave it so everything looks normal, and wait until something happens. In this attempt, a guy sneakily unscrews some screws from his boss's office chair while he's got a moment alone in the office. Using an Allen key, he's able to remove the bolt discreetly, and this kind of office chair is held together by just one bolt. He gives a cheeky grin to his buddy holding the camera and tells him that their big fat boss Eric breaks all his chairs because he's fat. But it seems there's more to Eric's chair problem than he really knows. It's his miscreant employees who are causing his chairs to break through acts of sabotage. Sabotage, by the way, is a French term which comes from the French Revolution, when people wearing sabots, a kind of wooden clog, would kick things until they broke to hasten the destruction of the old regime. That's not quite what is going on here. There's literally no one wearing wooden clogs, although Eric could perhaps be of French origin. In any case, he sits, he falls, and it's time to lose some weight. Number 2. Pissed off employee takes down silo at work. Here we go again, with the destructive power of an excavator. Is this the ultimate way to take revenge? Makes it seem like the guy throwing a bucket of water in his boss's face was some kind of creative genius. Anyway, this time, our enraged worker has tied up his digger to a huge grain silo. He fires up the engine of the Caterpillar and begins to pull, causing the silo to wobble and then finally topple to the floor in a crash of metal and plastic. The boss will surely not appreciate that. What could have angered him so much? Will he have to do jail time, or will he be forced to pick up every last grain of rice and move them all to one of the other silos as punishment? These vital questions may never be answered, as the video cuts off there, with the laughter of some of his colleagues. YouTube commentator Georgina Wood says, "Jail time or fix it." Tough justice, but maybe fair given the damage caused. I know one thing, I would not like to work for her, or the guy who runs these grain silos. Number 1. Unpaid laborer destroys Travelodge with digger. Now for some real drama. A construction worker in Liverpool, England decided to take revenge on his boss after he found out he had not been paid £600. That's around $800 that he was owed from building this brand new hotel. On the very day construction on the hotel finished, our furious hero took charge of a small digger and went berserk, driving it through the pristine plate glass door and windows at the entrance, and then swinging the cab around to shake off other construction workers who seemed to be trying to cut the engine. Then, inside the hotel, the driver used the digger to smash up the reception desk before leaping out and running off into the distance. His colleagues didn't seem too impressed with the rampage, but then maybe they all got their £600. Well, Travelodge, I guess you learned a lesson. Better to pay your workers than leave them the chance to smash up one of your fancy new hotels in revenge. That's about all the vengeful workers we've got time for today. Which of these crazy acts of revenge did you think was most justified? What pranks have you played on your boss, and how did they react? Let us know in the comments below. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time!